What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of Blinkers Off Live. We are instant reacting to what we saw today at Belmont Park. Of course, Essential Quality wins the Belmont Stakes, just like we all knew was going to happen, right? I got with me here, of course, we spent the day with Ricky. Ricky was there, our boy Ricky Rockets. Paul's here again, of course. We're at Paul's house, so he has to be on. And Halterman, he's with me as well. What's up, boys?
Great day of racing. Can't wait to recap it and talk about it.
Wow, that's the only guy that has anything to say.
I thought we were going in order. No, it was fantastic. I think we're going to kind of get to the transgressions, but the one person down and one person that way, we're ready to leave the track too early. So I think we're going to kind of dive into why that happened. But no, it was a great day. It was kind of highlighted by the horse that we all kind of expected to win. So
yeah, Jared, I'm the only one still drinking. Actually, he's given up already. Halterman's done. He's tapped out.
I've consumed too much. It's you got at some point you got to give it a rest or you die.
Well, that's what amateurs say. So, but no, Essential Quality wins Belmont Stakes. What is that? 153. So it really was. We'll just get right to it because that was obviously the main event, and it lived up to it. Really the whole entire stretch run, we got to see what we wanted to see, which was a battle tested with Essential Quality and who it would be. But it's Hot Rod Charlie. Those two ran a huge race. First thoughts, we've been what is it, about 5 hours or so since the race has ended. So what final thoughts? Or first, I guess it's been like 4 hours since this race. What do you think?
The first thoughts are those two horses ran fantastic races. I feel a little bad for Hot Rod Charlie. That horse ran fantastic and got beat. So that was pretty unbelievable. For us who bet the 2-4 exacta, easiest one we ever catch. We never had to sweat. It's like, yeah, they're just pulling away from everybody else. It was an incredible performance. For the second straight Triple Crown race, a performance so good that I just didn't see coming. We saw the winner, like said. We had the winner, we had the exacta, but it's like, for them to run that well, I never could have guessed we would have seen a 109 buyer from the winner and a 108 buyer from Hot Rod Charlie who finished second. I mean, that was the thing, the big takeaway is like, wow, they ran off the screen here.
I'm going to actually disagree with you, Dan. Hard, actually. I thought that was I thought Pratt rode a brilliant ride on Hot Rod Charlie in order to get that horse to run like he did. I don't know what he was in a situation of what you want him to do, because I think he kind of said, you know what, if you want to come get me, you come get me. I'm going to run my race. And you got to think about it this way. The dude ran like a 10, I guess we'll say like a 108, 107 buyer.
Yeah.
He lost. So, like, what more do you want? What more do you want him to do? He ran huge. He just got. I mean, they were like 12 lengths ahead of everybody. He did all you could ask. He set a career high buyer easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what more you can ask for.
You can't ask for anything more. I mean, my goodness, just fantastic job. I mean, Essential Quality, Hot Rod Charlie, the third and fourth place finishers in the Derby, and you say, well, okay, Essential Quality was wide. Hot Rod didn't get the lead or whatever. But how did these horses not win the Derby, even with the juiced up Baffert horse? I mean, how good did they run today compared to just how average they ran in the Derby? That's the improvement with these horses in the last 5 weeks. Pretty fantastic. Right?
Okay. Anybody? Ricky? Paul?
I'm still upset that Joe Rosario is now 0 for 2 on Rock Your World. I'll get to that. But I thought Essential Quality, we all kind of said that Essential Quality was the best horse in the Derby, kind of ran like it here. Hot Rod Charlie probably didn't deserve to lose. And I think against any other 3-year-old in the country, anyone win. So it's just a tough effort. Hot Rod Charlie's always good for an A+. Essential Quality ran an A++. And that's just unfortunately what it came down to for me.
Yeah, I think Pratt rode Hot Rod perfectly. Yeah, so Pratt really had to do two things, right? So one, he had to be the horse that broke Rock Your World's spirit. And I think we saw today, Rock Your World does not want to get into a dogfight, and he had it right off the bat with Hot Rod. And so Pratt put him away, and he put him himself in a position to say, essential quality, come get me if you're the better horse.
Yep.
Today he was. Me personally, I can't wait till round 3 somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Travers or whatever it is this summer, but those two horses have definitely distanced themselves away from the rest of this crop.
Oh, I mean, and they literally distanced themselves away from him today, and I think it's hard to like I said all along. I kept saying, Essential Quality is the best horse of the crop. Hot Rod's the most consistent horse of the crop, and they showed it today. They did their thing. Dr. Tang, there you go. I think that is a good point. Hot Rod Charlie had to outbreak Rock Your World, and Pratt did exactly because he knew that if you let Rock Your World go, it doesn't help anybody in the race. And I like the thought of why I kept saying, I'm mad Rock Your World's in this race, because I wanted Hot Rod to get an easy lead, and he kind of did. He had to ask a lot of the horse in the first quarter, but he kind of slowed things down a little bit and gave the horse a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
And then that's really when you watch the final turn, and Pratt's really sitting on him pretty chilly, and he's kind of waiting. And whenever, basically when Essential Quality came and said, bye Rock Your World, and Rock Your World just folded. That's when the running really started.
It helped that he had pressure, but it was from a mule like Rock Your World instead of an actual legit good horse. So that did help Hot Rod Charlie. That guy, he knew that horse wasn't any good, right? So, I'm just kidding around. But Hot Rod Charlie, I forget who said it. I think it was maybe Michael. You're 100% right. He had every reason to fold. And when they turned for home and they weren't really separating quite yet, I thought, okay, I'm looking for known agenda. Like, okay, he'll pass Hot Rod Charlie or anybody, and he just kept going. It was just a huge performance.
We were watching this race again closely right before we hopped on there, because obviously being there live, it's hard to kind of really get an idea of everything, and we watched it a few times just before we hopped on air, and man. It's funny. I saw a few comments like this, and we said the same thing. That man, Hot Rod ran too good to lose here. Like, he really did all the dirty work, and he held on, and he tried everything he could to keep Essential Quality from passing him. But that obviously was just too tough a task considering the early fractions. Say a little bit about because I know you talked a little bit about this to me and on XM after the race, like how the decision that Luis Saez had to make there in terms of saying, because he kind of thought going in the race, he's going to need to be pretty close to them. Yeah. And then he made that decision. I mean, there are probably, 5, 6, 7 links off of those early pace setters to make that decision to sit off.
Yeah, I was watching Essential Quality, and I definitely was like, he's a little too far behind. I don't really like this. But then you see the fractions, and I think Saez just kind of sensed that, hey, we're going pretty fast here. I'm going to take him back. He saved a lot of ground. I think that was a huge thing as well. Because you think about it, okay, he won and they were well clear, but he had to fight to get by Hot Rod Charlie. So maybe if it's a situation where he hung him out wide again and didn't get quite the trip that he got, maybe he wouldn't have got by him. So I think saving the ground, not getting up in that pace early and getting where he's running too fast. He needed all that energy. He needed all the saved ground to get by Hot Rod Charlie. So it was a great ride for Luis Saez. They're all great rides when they win, right? But I mean, this actually was a pretty crafty ride. Crafty ride of the week, as Magic Mike would say. So.
Bring that back.
Yeah.
No, but it was, I guess the way he had to, I don't know if he sits that close. He just was able to round that field. He set wide most of the race. I think that was a little bit of, I know, Paul, you had, watching the race live, you were a little concerned with how wide he was, but you see the way he just kind of loomed up there, and like you say, he put away Rock Your World, and then the race was on. And those are two horses that, when we didn't necessarily see it in a way because he ran so much further, but usually with such a quality, when he comes up on a horse, he's going to pass him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think today you really saw, how well Saez rode him. And again, I go back to that, so he saved ground into the first corner. On the backside, he was 6 or 7 lengths behind, but he made up that distance before they started into the second turn. And he went a little wide on the second turn, but he had already drawn closer to them. And by the time they hit the top of the stretch, they put Rock Your World away, and then the duel was on. It's just the two of them. So Saez I thought ran a beautiful ride, and so did Pratt, and deservingly so. They hit the wire very close together.
So let me pull it, because what you're talking about in this comment, I think, really go hand in hand. I almost thought EQ moved too soon, and Paul, you brought it up. He didn't really make a move. He just kind of subtly started getting him into the race progressively and then he made his actual move was actually on the turn. Mm-hmm. But that little move to kind of sneak up, and now instead of 6, I'm 5 behind, 4 behind. That's how you win the Belmont right there. You don't go all at once and ask him. You just kind of gradually ease him up, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and you watch the hands on Pratt on Hot Rod Charlie, you can see, okay, he's waiting, and then really when Essential Quality gets up on him, that's when Pratt starts going. And for a second, I mean, that's how good a Hot Rod is, or how much heart this horse has. I think he puts the nose back in front of him a little bit down the stretch. He tried, he battled back, he fought back, said, "No, I'm not giving it up." And Essential Quality is just too good. Ricky, was this the best race of Triple Crown this year?
I don't want to get into the Derby. I still kind of think, just because of what we saw, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning Rombauer's race. If I had to pick right now, I thought that was the most impressive. Like visually impressive. I know he doesn't disagree. Of the Triple Crown, well, I can't look at the Derby because one horse is a cheater. So now I'm forced to pick between the two. If Hot Rod Charlie won, I would have said this one.
I'll be honest, I kind of set that up thinking you would say this race, but
this was easily the most impressive race of the three. It's not even close. They were 12 lengths ahead of everybody else.
It was
an open-ended.
And Rombauer, who won the Preakness, was 12 behind him. Good God.
Well, that was still more. I mean, this was great. Also, I think the difference.
He just ran a 109 buyer in the Belmont, and the runner-up ran a 108. And you're like, okay.
Well, I don't care about buyers, but I think I was more intrigued, like down the stretch in that one, and I think, Aaron, to your point, these two pulling away, like it became became these two were so much better than everyone else. So when I kind of look at the race as a whole, I'm not saying no. I'm not picking Rombauer. Someone asked, Jared asked me what was better to watch. That was the question. I said the Rombauer ways.
Kill this one easily.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's fine.
What
a terrible. Why can't I? Go ahead.
I love how direct you are. No, I mean,
that's how you got to talk to him.
This was by far the best race of obviously the Derby you tossed, and then the Preakness was.
Well, yeah, I mean.
And Rombauer, the horse that romped by everyone, just got murdered today. So I think
to his, the Preakness was fun.
It was visually impressive to watch. I give him that.
Yeah,
but he ran.
Yeah, that was what the question was. The question was, what was the most visually impressive race to watch?
That's not what the answer is. The Belmont.
That was not what I asked, by the way. I said, what was the best race of the Triple Crown? Okay,
that's the same thing.
Okay, what do you? Two horses I want to ask you guys about, because obviously Essential Quality, he's the best horse of the crop. That's easy. We've been saying all along, like there's not any great horses of this 3-year-old crop. He's just the best of them. He might be I
was gonna say
he showed so much today. But we've established that. What do you do with Hot Rod Charlie? Because this is a horse who obviously is super good, but it's like he just isn't. He won Louisiana Derby, but it's unless he catches a good field, or a weak field, I should say, or a good situation for him, he's not going to win. Or do you keep running him at this level as far as like, is the amount of quarter type, or do you cut him back, or is this you just keep doing what you're doing?
Haskell, taking to the Haskell. That's what
I would highly. I mean, how do you not put this horse like in the Travers conversation? Now that's a long ways away, but how could you like? How is that even like a question if Essential Quality is the best and Essential Quality, let's say he's running in the Travers, you beat him by less than 2 lengths for a horse that took pace pressure, was going fast early. I mean, could he not win the Travers? So
he could continue to get better too. He is getting better, frankly.
With Baffert on the shelf, he's 1 to 2 to win the Haskell, I think, because Haskell. The Haskell sets up well for him. It's a little shorter, to Jared's point. The Monmouth track plays the speed. I think he's
We're
really
going to the
tough
Haskell
in
if he's in the Haskell.
Huh?
We're going to the Haskell.
Oh, no, we're not going to the Haskell.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on Hot Rod? Would you keep him doing this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I think the horse wants to do this. He loves a fight. You saw it today. You've seen it in every race that he runs. The horse loves a fight. I would continue down this path. I think the Haskell would be good. It's a little bit of a shorter distance. Should be right up his alley. Remember, his brother's Matoli, who was a fantastic sprinter. I think he can definitely go longer just because he's got better breeding to do that. But I think the Haskell would be perfect for him. While Essential Qualities has already said that their Travers is what they've circled for the summer.
Yeah. I mean,
he has that feel, a Travers horse.
What about this? Might be a different.
I know where he can go next. Aaron and I would be pretty excited if he showed up in Indiana
Derby.
I'm just saying. Or
a horse that
made Shelbyville, Indiana.
A horse that maybe should go to the Indiana Derby, and the horse I want to ask you guys about next is Rock Your World.
Oh, he does. That's way too good a race for him.
What the hell do you do with Rock Your World at this point? Is he just like it's Sadler? So do you just cut him back to allowance race?
I got it. Jim Dandy right now. I think you give him some time off if you want to keep him on this coast. That makes sense. Or you could put him in the Haskell, but I would love to see him run in Saratoga. With anyone aboard. If Jared, Paulie, Aaron, you guys want to ride for Joel Rosario, I would love the upgrade. So if you want to keep him on the East Coast, because if you're not going to, I don't think you want to go to the Haskell with Rock Your World. I think that's a bad move, but you could put him in the Jim Dandy.
I mean, he'll be in the Oceanside Stakes, that turf race on opening weekend at Del Mar. Yeah, Oceanside Stakes.
You're saying off the track.
When you see a horse like this, just throw in the towel twice now against better competition, it is to cut him back and try and rebuild that confidence. And Sadler's has done this before with horse and brought them back. And so, John Sadler's smarter than all of us when it comes to getting a horse ready to go, and I'm sure that's probably what he's going to do is something like that. I don't think you'd want to keep throwing them into the deep end. You have to rebuild those horses' confidence because twice it's been crushed.
Yep.
Well, I'm with Halterman a little bit. I think turf seems to be where they'll end up with his horse next.
I think you have to now.
Today was like
because there's no excuse today.
And if you lose today, fine. You finish third, fine.
Yeah.
But he beat two horses. I mean,
and one of them got eased.
And one of them didn't finish. He literally didn't finish. I don't think so. It's just he's and you look at he was right there. He was putting pace pressure, frankly, on Hot Rod, and he folded like a cheap tent. So he to me he needs a total kind of reset, whether that's turf, whether that's an allowance, whatever it is, something, because he needs to go off to the farm.
Or go or go away. Go ahead.
So I wanna I'm gonna pose this if we're gonna go turf. Oceanside, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Tang. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I wouldn't be shocked to see him back if we're gonna ship him back west. You'd probably assume like the Del Mar Derby. I think that's Labor Day weekend. G2, a lot of money. If that's the route, I'm not even saying turf is the route. I'm not sure what is at this point, but I'm just saying like if that's a logical type of move if you're gonna go that route for the rest of the summer.
Yeah.
All right. Final question that I want to ask you guys about as far as horses in this race. Essential Quality, we just established he's really good. Can he compete with your older horses?
Yes.
The classic. Is he a classic type horse?
Yes.
Because we know how tough it is for a 3-year-old to win the classic. Can he do it?
It's not that tough. They do it all the time.
I don't know how tough it is.
3-year-olds win the classic all the time. That's one of the biggest myths that people think, oh, the 3-year-olds struggle to win the classic. They win it all the time.
Well,
people have a great shot because when November gets here, they're not really 3-year-olds. I mean,
you're right. They're 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, they've really progressed. They've caught up. He will have a great shot in that race. Yeah, if he stays up.
I also think we just saw what Nick's go was. So
don't even start on Nick's go.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll get into that race, but it's like, who's the best older horse? Mystic Guide. I mean, are we loving that opinion? So I'm not sure. Like, at this point, when we we're kind of, to Aaron's point, like obviously the Derby and that stuff was mixed around last year with the dates because of COVID. I mean, he's basically 4 if he gets to the Breeders' Cup for all reasoning. He's 3 years and like 10 months. So he's pretty much 4. That's not a 3-year-old anymore. Once you exit the summer, that September period, you're a 4-year-old. So, I mean, yeah, why can't he do it? He's got as good of a shot as anyone.
Yeah, I would also agree that essential quality is going to be there. As long as he stays healthy, he'll be right there. And a big part of the reason is who's the older horse that you're scared of right now?
Mm-hmm.
There's none that while you guys were talking, I've been trying to think who is even the best older horse, and I can't come up with it. So
yeah, that's just it. You look at some of the 3-year-olds that have won the race. Like, he's better than Bayern, right? I mean,
Bayern, Arrogant, American Pharaoh, all trained by Baffert. Interesting. Okay.
Authentic also.
Yeah.
Trained by Baffert. Yeah. So maybe there you go. He had the touch, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So maybe it happens a lot whenever he's trained by Baffert, but maybe it's not a lot all the time.
Well, it's hard to dive into those because I think most people, like the 4 of us, or most people listening, like Arrogate was just a special horse regardless of who had his hands on him. I mean, maybe it's up for question as opposed to like some others. But
the other thing is Baffert always has the best 3-year-old. So is it Baffert or just the fact that he has the best 3-year-old every year?
But I do agree with the fact that there, like Vinny says, there aren't any star older horses.
No.
So if there is regardless if they win the lot or not, he seems to be right there. And obviously distance wise is right. Him and Hot Rod, frankly, should be there.
Yeah.
With the big chance to win the race. So let's go into let's just we can talk a lot about the undercard, what we saw. So let's kind of go through. Let's each give one. How about? And we can't give the same race. So let's talk about a race. So
okay.
I'll start it off with Ricky. Kind of the race of the undercard race that let's talk, and then we'll go into it. So give me a race that you thought was so exciting, and we'll talk about it.
I kind of thought it was the first one. It happened to be the first one that I was able to get there for with the traffic. But I thought Drain the Clock was unbelievable because I think it says more about who he beat than his actual performance. And what I mean by that is Jackie's Warrior hadn't lost going a mile or shorter, so 8 furlongs or shorter. The fact that, I mean, there are a lot of impressive ones, obviously, on the day. But I think a lot of people kind of looked at Drain the Clock a few months ago as like, this is not a Triple Crown horse. This is not X. This is not Y. This is not Z. He's turned out to be a pretty good horse. And he's come to New York and has done a fantastic job. And again, a lot of people were like off the Jackie's Warrior train and then hopped right back on after his last race. And all of a sudden it's like, well, Drain the Clock just beat him. Now, maybe that says something about Jackie's, but I think that says even more about Drain the Clock. I think Drain the Clock is a legitimate, true, one of the better sprinters in the country right now, and there's nothing that would persuade me from that. That was maybe wasn't the most visually impressive, but that was the one I was excited to watch the most because Jackie's Warrior is still a great sprinter in his own right.
You're obviously you picked Jackie and you love Jackie going in here. What do you think of how that played out?
I mean, what did I tell you after the race? Jackie's Warrior probably a little overrated, but I think Drain the Clock ran very well. I think you do have to say that. I mean, because Jackie's Warrior, it kind of looked like he was going to do the same thing that he did to Dream Shake, where he's just going to hold him off. And, Drain the Clock just warmed down and got there. I thought, Jackie's Warrior getting shuffled back, not getting the lead, and then, getting rushed up. And I don't really blame him for getting him in that spot, but it may have taken just enough out of him. I thought both of them ran well, but I still was a little disappointed in Jackie's Warrior. I thought he would win. Even like mid-stretch, I thought he had it.
It was funny because it was almost like, his last race with Dream Shake where they just kind of pulled away and they just went flying, and that's what Drain the Clock and Jackie's Warrior did as they, were like 7 links ahead of everybody else and really just ran everyone off their feet. And like you say, Jackie's Warrior just couldn't hold off during the clock. Who obviously, it seems like after, when that does, because all the talk was, after he ran a tough race, but obviously wasn't good enough during the Fountain Youth, they just stop, and you're like, wow, you could have gotten to the Derby. They knew this horse was this kind of horse, and he certainly showed it today because it was very impressive. Like, he was really good today.
Yeah, he was.
I think one of the biggest things in similarly to sports, like, he ran Jackie Warrior's race. And what I mean by that is, like, it's not like he did something that we hadn't seen and we didn't know. Like, he went toe to toe with that horse and won. And I think that sometimes that makes it more visually impressive. And that's why I kind of went there, as opposed to, like, we can talk about like a Silver State type of thing, like, and maybe someone will bring that up, but I don't think Jackie's Warrior was horrible. That's what makes the performance good. He wasn't great, but it wasn't one of the worst performances of the day, and he took it right to him, and he was the one who was able to prevail. I don't think anyone would have taken that with a furlong or two to go if you were just taking head to head. So that's kind of why I went there.
Cattle River, by the way, couldn't even get near the lead and basically was eased. I mean, that horse was awful. And what has happened to that horse?
I don't like his chances at the Breeders' Cup.
Let's just say,
we're talking about 3-year-olds.
Let's just say that the Oaklaw and 3-year-old series this year was, other than Essential Quality.
Well, they had, but he was like a one and done.
He came through there, but the Rebel and Derby were quite weak.
Oh, really bad.
Wow.
Really bad.
For a series that is historically extremely good.
Yes. Yeah.
The only thing I would say, in addition to what you guys talked about in the Woody Stevens, is hats off to Asmussen and Safi Joseph. Like, they recognize what makes these two horses potentially great. Good horses today, what makes them potentially great? And it wasn't the race for the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
They took them off early and they got them ready for these races. Hats off to them. They're putting their horses in a position to succeed, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree.
Instead of getting that Derby fever or whatever, they said, this is what makes more sense. And look what they are. They won grade 1 races with them. Paul, thoughts on what's your race?
Well, the name's on the screen for a reason. It's domestic spending.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The Manhattan, watching that, I don't think any of us sat once the gate opened and just watching him run. We talked about it the other day on the pod that this might be the best horse in training, and I think today he proved it.
Yep. There's no might anymore.
Yep.
He's an absolute beast, and it is going to be a pure joy to watch him run the rest of the year.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And we were on the struggle bus today.
We needed
the old Racing Dudes wager live bankroll, and it was hurting. And Nick Sco obviously put a big dent in that in a bad way. And we came to this race and we needed a big performance, and holy shit, we got it, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, that was huge. And then to couple that in with the Belmont, it was a really fun way to end the day. But this was awesome. Ricky, what did you tell me? They galloped by us the first time. What did you tell me?
I would say within the first 100, 150 yards, I said, could you imagine the personality of a horse, type of thing? And it's like, he's just looking at these donkeys, tire themselves out. And he's just going to wait. He's the type of horse where he's telling the rider what to do. And that's very, very, and that's rare, extremely rare. If he wants to hold back, he'll tell what Pratt, as Dr. Tang's saying, he'll tell Pratt what he wants to do. Not the rider's not going to tell and I told Aaron, I was like, could you imagine just being domestic spending, knowing these horses are going to lose? They're essentially wasting their time. That's what I said. I was like, that's why I never got, Paul's everyone got up. I was the only one I think who wasn't up, because I was like, I'm not really sure what, we're going to see. When I said the best horse, I told Aaron this before, I said, this is the best horse in the country. And I think we're going to kind of see that. So this is the best. So I completely agree with Paul. And that's why I let Paul go with domestic spending. That's what I wanted to say, but I didn't want to talk about it twice. I told Aaron, this is the best horse in the country. And if turf racing was more appreciated, I think people would recognize that. That's maybe New York bias or New Jersey bias, but this is the best horse going. Like it's not even.
Midwest biased. He's the best horse in the country.
We see
I absolutely love this.
Yeah.
horse.
Yeah,
This was worth coming to Belmont, and flying up here. And if you just had to watch one race today, that was worth it. And he is just one that you can see that stride start to lengthen, and it's over as soon as you see it. All he has to do is fire, and he's going to win. And that's basically what it is. He was just awesome.
It's one of those, and we talk a lot about the turf races, how the race really doesn't start till the top of the stretch, and he's one of those that you kind of know. When he starts running, when he really gets going, it's over. Like you just know it. Like he just has that, and it's been Chad Brown obviously no stranger to getting those kind of horses, but this is like the next really big one I think for him. And you mentioned I think you said something like he's got a great chance now or something, because it was like he's already getting going.
Yeah, and
we watched the replay of that race too before we hopped on there, and it's like you see that stride. I mean, he did it last time out. He did it here. It's just every stride of his is two of everyone else in the race. He just gobbles up ground, and he, guys, frankly, he could be better. Like it's not even out of the question that he could be better, because he's switching leads back and forth down the lane, and he's just kind of just cruising home.
Yeah.
Well, so the only thing I want to not argue, I don't want to say he can get better, but that's the type, not argue, but this is what he is at this point. Like if that's the way he runs, they're not going to do anything different with him.
No.
So you know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, if he doesn't switch leads, which I didn't notice, to be honest, but it's like whatever they're doing, they're going to continue to do. So if he doesn't switch leads at the right time, then that's the way he's going to run. I mean, clearly it doesn't matter. So I don't know how much better he's going to get. And Aaron even pointed this out to me, is like, you win by a length on the turf, that's like 3 or 4 on the dirt. So you look at the PPs and it's like a neck, a head, a half a length, whatever. That's a legitimate 2 to 3. So don't look at the PPs or the result chart and say, oh, you only won by – that's not really how you kind of look at it, turf racing. But
before we break away from this race, I think we do have to mention a couple other horses in here, though.
Yeah.
I don't think they're all donkeys. I think Colonel Liam got exposed a little bit, maybe being a little distance limited. If he cuts back, I think he's going to do really well. I thought the runner-up ran a great race. He did his job. Chad Brown, his job obviously was to go out there and set some pace. But he ran, a quick pace and held on. But Gouffo, you can't count that horse out either. If you watch that replay, and we just did a few minutes ago, that horse is 20 lengths back when they enter the turn, and he was coming like a freight train there at the end. So if he's maybe a little closer, it could be a good battle with domestic spending. But I think there's a number of good turf horses that come out of this race that we'll be able to watch all summer.
That might want to avoid domestic spending in the future.
I'll go the other race.
And that's the scary part, right? Because if you're a connections trainer, own a horse, however, it's like, do we really want to go with this monster? Aaron asked me, how do you beat this horse? I think the only way you could do it if you're in an extremely small field and the first quarter is like 25-2. Yeah. And that's it. Because Gouffo, to Paulie's point, he's further back. I'm calling him further back, right? And that's like Gouffo, right? That's not the way he runs. How do you beat domestic spending? You have to be the complete opposite, which means do it on the lead. That's how Tribby Van do it. Like you're not going to outclose him. So how do you beat him? You have to be a front runner. I think that's the only way you can do it. But
try to steal one on the front end, but it's going to have to be a really, really good horse. Halterman, what's your race? I know we all probably wanted to talk about this.
I'll say the Matt Mile for Silver State. I even though we lost that race from a betting standpoint, it's great that Silver State wins yet again. Perfect ride and trip on the inside. Nick's Go turns the corner ahead and he floats everybody out. And then guess what? Silver State just shoots right up the rail and wins. This horse just doesn't lose. The only thing that makes me angry about this is I backed him every single time he's won, and I did back him today. You get over that and just think, wow, great horse. I mean, right now he's right there. Like he's probably the second or third best horse in the country.
It's hard to argue, right?
Yeah.
He wins a Bet Mile. That does enough for a horse right now.
He sweeps all the Oaklawn Stakes. That's not easy to do, and then to win a Met Mile. Yeah, I mean it's pretty incredible.
What is that now? 5 or 6?
I think that's 6 in a row now. Yeah, dating
6.
back to last year even. Yeah, he's right there now. I mean, really just super impressive. Nick's go was awful in this race, but somebody still had to come up and win, and he ran an extremely good race. Silver State deserves a ton of credit.
God, Nick's go was awful, wasn't he?
He was awful.
There's really not a lot of excuses out of that. He just, you could tell
He sucks.
in the turn he was not going to go on. Who was the best horse in the race though?
Maybe the runner-up by my standards. I thought that horse ran really, really well.
He's been very consistent lately. You think if the brother is on Mischievous Alex, that makes a difference?
Yeah, we talked about that too. Go ahead.
Well, so if you watch the race, right? Yeah. So Knicks go out front. They come off the corner and hit the top of the stretch, and he blows the turn.
Mm-hmm.
He's out, 5 or 6 wide, and he forces Mischievous Alex out with him. And by my standards, has to go around all of them. Silver State set the great ride by Ricardo. Comes right up the rail, takes advantage of those 3 coming out. But yeah, I would say give me next time Mischievous Alex or by my standards, in a even race where you're not going to see them blow out to 5 or 6 wide and Silver State comes up the rail. Give me one of those 2, but take nothing away from Silver State. All the horse does is win and gets no credit for it.
Well, and that's what's funny about him is that, obviously he was disregarded here, so to speak. He was, I think, third choice, almost fourth choice.
Yeah.
And so he never gets. He's Ronnie Dangerfield of the older horses. He never gets any respect. And yet again, we're talking. We just saw the race, and we're both saying or we're all be like, well, maybe he wasn't the best horse in the race. Next time, is he going to beat us again?
His problem coming into this race was the horses that he was beating at Oaklawn have come back to run awful.
I know.
Fearless couldn't win the Pimlico Special. It's on and on, and it's maybe he's not that good. Maybe he's taking advantage of a weaker fields, and then he comes up in this field. It's well, if he wins here, he's really good, and then it's again, you're like. Well, Nick's go didn't run very well, and by my standards was really wide, and he saved all the ground. It's some bitch wins. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
That's that. I remember, Halty. Remember we had the conversation about authentic, in the Haskell, and I still bring it up. It's he just wins, and that is the object of the sport. It's not to be visually impressive. The object is to win, and that's kind of why I looked at it. I was all right, I think Nick's go still the most talented. If he runs his best race, he's obviously going to win. But you start to question some of the other horses. Mischievous Alex, not only do you have a distance issue, but he beat Mind Control and Super Stonehenge. That's not going to be good enough. Dr. Post, he beat Wicked Trick in one race in the Westchester. I mean, you just make a lot of question marks. The only thing you could say about Silver State was, his competition. But you win 5 in a row, and that offsets it. And Oaklawn, I thought, had a pretty good meet overall in terms of a lot of runners I think are running really well. And I think Oaklawn kind of gets put on the back burner once the summer starts, and I guess we're kind of into that summer. I think we're going to see a lot of Oaklawn runners do really well, by my standards, who what I'm saying, the horses with a lot of Oaklawn experience. I think that's going to be a theme, and I think that's something that people should keep an eye on. And obviously, in this race, it worked out. So
yeah.
I guess I'll go to the race that I really don't want to talk about, but it was kind of the big race at one point before all the scratches. And Michael Myers, you brought up a horse that I'm going to mention, Latruska. We'll talk about the Ogden Phipps quickly. Latruska, obviously, very good. I mean, I don't take any credit or don't take anything against her. She ran huge. She just continued on, but she beat 4 horses. We kept getting scratches. Swiss Got Ever was out. Valence was out. Bonnie South gets up for second. She dares to double third. Latruska is another one of those horses that is a little bit like the Roddy Dangerfield that just continues to they win and then they don't get a lot of respect. But yeah, you look at who they beat, and she is one that's she beats good horses. So while it was a very impressive race, we didn't obviously we skipped this race. We bypassed it because of the scratches, but you kind of were surprised. I mean, you love She Dares the Devil, I know, going into it.
Mhm.
So were you how shocking was the result for you personally?
It wasn't shocking that Latruska won. I definitely think she was, second choice for me after the scratches. Thought she'd have a shot, but it was, I guess, shocking that she won so easily. And She Dares the Devil was just pathetic. That was awful. That was it. Listen, no Cox horse showed up all day except Essential Quality.
Who showed up in a big way.
And it's not saying, oh, Cox horses didn't run that well. They didn't show up. None of She Dares the Devil was awful, god awful, terrible performance. Bonnie South beat you. That's embarrassing. You shouldn't come out of the barn for a couple of weeks. But Latruska, yeah, just gate to wire. I mean, just dominated the race. She's the number one older female in the country. There's no question. I mean, there's no debate. Monomoy Girl, who knows when she'll be back? I don't think. I'm skeptical she will be back. This is who we got. We got Latruska. I mean, she just wins. Kind of like Silver State, right?
Well, I think we proved today, even though it's not a great field. I mean, that unless Monomoy Girl makes an appearance or Swiss Skydiver, whatever her issues are.
I guess there's still a thing with her.
Latruska definitely is head and shoulders above these horses right now. She stomped into the ground today.
Well, I think that the other thing that we saw today is 5 weeks ago, you would have said the older fillies and mares division by far the best.
Mm-hmm.
And where are we at today? Is Monomoy Girl coming back? Swiss Skydiver, declining form, and now she's missed this race.
Yeah.
Where are we at in the older fillies and mares? We have Latruska, by all rights, deserves to be at the top, but where else are we? By the time we get to this staff, does it become the 3-year-olds that take over and lead the way? We saw a really good 3-year-old today, and the best 3-year-old isn't going to show up again until the summer.
Yep.
Well, there is one filly who is on the radar. Haven't really seen it at stakes level, but we'll kind of keep that off there. I mean, Valiant is. Well, I'm not gonna mention where the filly that we got to talk about in person. That's the one, Chad Brown runner who just ran an allowance race. But Valiant, I think he's still talented also. We saw 2 of the probably top 3 didn't even run today. So I don't know if we can completely crush this division yet, even though it's not looking as good as it did a month ago.
I think did you put that up? Yeah, Malathot. I think that definitely is a horse that is going to have a shot. And I mean, I like 3-year-olds at the Breeders' Cup, so maybe I am biased towards 3-year-olds. Maybe that's a flaw or something, but I think they can compete. I don't think you can watch that race and then, like you said, and then watch Malathot search results in the Oaks, and then search results comes back and wins today and think they have no shot. I think they're going to have a shot. So I'm with you. And Latruska, she's run 4 tough races, and we're not even to the second half of the season. So by the time November comes, Latruska might be a little worn out. So I think it's wide open.
Well, I want to ask you guys this: if Monomoy Girl were to come back,
yeah, I'll take Monomoy Girl.
Okay,
yeah, I'll definitely get Monomoy Girl.
Yeah, she's in my book. She's like, if she shows up in a race, that's big.
No, but so I'm just the division looks weak now because we had 2 scratches and a horse that we're not sure about. I think this division could easily be, again, to Paul's point, the best division if we even see 2 of the 3 come back. So I mean, maybe not the top by a lot, but if you get all 3 back, it's easily the best division. So that's I think it's just we're looking at it on a today basis, a very but not long term type of thing. So
yeah, it's I think that's what the next big weekend is. What of these seeing these will be Stars and Stripes or
with the
3-year-old just kind of the general the big.
Oh, it kind of gets split up now. Turf horses for the 3-year-olds will be Stars and Stripes Day. We'll have what's that race they run for the older horses on that day? Can't think of it right now. I don't know, but anyway, they run an older race that day, and then it's Saratoga and it's Del Mar after that, guys. That's where we're at now. Coaching Club American Oaks, we'll see some big horses second weekend of the year. The Whitney's coming up, first weekend in August, and then of course, on to the Travers and stuff like that, and then Haskell in mid July.
Yep.
So,
and don't forget, a lot of these races today we're including this one. Winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup. Yep. So we're all eyes on the Breeders' Cup at this point. The Belmont's over, and all these races this leading up, and like we just talked about, all these leading up to these big races, obviously at the end of the year.
Yep.
All right, we have a few things to get to because I want to at least mention the fact that I did win the fantasy league. Thank you for announcing that. I appreciate everyone's kind remarks about me winning. I appreciate it. But no. I'm gonna ruin. I'm gonna ruin. You, by the way, so. I'm gonna ruin. Saratoga Slim finished last, just so everyone knows, and I'm gonna ruin him. Oh. So that's what's gonna happen.
Honorable mention to Lone Rock, by the way, who did win by 12 points. We didn't even get a chance to talk about him. I know it's a 2-mile race that not a lot of people know or really care about, but that should be in the top 3 performances of the day also potential, because you win, it's hard enough to go that distance, and then it's even more detrimental to everyone else to win by 12 or close to. I mean, that we didn't even get a chance to really discuss that, but I thought that was one of the best performances of the day too. It's just a race that a lot of people don't put stock into or aren't interested in.
All right. Give me everyone. I want people listening, over the next several months, give me your thoughts, how I should punish Slim. And all things are on the table at this point, because he's kind of annoyed me all year, and I'm gonna just lay into him. He's already tweeting. If you go to Racing Dudes,
kind of annoyed me all
go
year.
to Racing Dudes Twitter at Racing Dudes, and he's tweeting at us like he's worried. He's worried. This is the worst case scenario for Slim. Yep. I'm gonna ruin him. So one other thing to get on, I'll let you guys, because I don't feel like I was a part of this.
Well. So
I'll let you guys kind of just, the shirt situation.
Paul was talking trash to me about fantasy league and right before the Preakness, and I said, "Hey, it doesn't matter. Ron Bauer, when he wins the Preakness and he wins the Belmont, it won't matter.
Yes, Jerry.
I will. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he is picking up. But I will win, and it won't matter." And Paul says, "What? What did you say?"
I told you that I would eat my shirt, and then I corrected it quickly, and I said that I would eat the Magic Mike shirt if Ron Bauer led you to victory.
Yes, and he almost did it.
He almost pulled it off. I'm going to tell you, when he went storming by and won the Preakness, I started to sweat.
Yes,
because now I had to figure out. Do I like my shirt with ketchup, mustard? I mean, how do you eat that? How do you take it? So it was definitely something that entered my mind, and we had to figure out a way to make sure that I live up to my word, because I'm a man of my word. If I say something, I do it. That I lived up to my word without having to go to the hospital later the night after eating an entire.
Get your stomach pumped.
So, exactly.
So I'll turn to Cam. So this is what Paul decided to do. Here it is. That is the Magic Mike shirt in cupcake form. So we're all going to eat cupcakes now. That's how we're going to end this show. Yes. So there you go. The Magic Mike shirt that Paul was going to have to eat. We're going to eat it anyway, but we're all going to eat it. It's not just you.
The plan was if Ron Bauer did win today, we were going to make Paul dive into that thing.
Yeah, eat it with no hands. There was some sort of punishment.
Yes, it was going to be awesome.
So I do want to give a couple thank you. One to Magic Mike. I don't know why he had it loaded up so fast, but I asked him for a PDF of their logo, and I had it 3 seconds later. So I'm not sure why that happened so fast. But I
know.
I also
he
want
loves
to,
his picture of himself.
To say,
you know what I mean.
Thank you to Heather Alterman. Because I asked her what type of cake does Aaron like to eat. I should have taken the exact opposite and just made all those, but I did not. I made sure that I got cake that Aaron would eat. So thank you to both of them.
I'm excited for this.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm ready to get off the air now.
Yeah.
So, one more shout out. I do have one more shout out. So thank you to my lovely wife who went to all the effort to get this done. I think she had to call 60 different places and find somebody that would put this all together. So thank you to her. She's the real reason that I'm not visiting the ER later tonight.
And instead enjoying ourselves thoroughly.
Yeah.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap on the Belmont Festival. And of course, Ricky's Rockets will be back this week. Coming up week, obviously, we'll dive into more of that. And we'll all be back next week with Blinkers Off, the Magic Mike Show. Trying to really putting a bow on all this, what we saw, and of course, leading up to the Breeders' Cup. Any final thoughts? You good? You want to eat cupcake?
Yeah, we'll eat the cupcakes now. Final thought, and this is like all three of these races blew me away for different reasons, right? With the Derby, it's a DQ because of a drug violation. That kind of blows you away. The Preakness, Rombauer like freaks and just runs like a race. It's like he'll never do that again, right? And then this one, it's like, okay, the two horses we thought finished 1-2, but they were 12 lengths ahead of everybody else. Like, this was incredible. Like, I never thought any horse in this crop was capable of that kind of performance. So 3 races, very surprising every time and fun. Every one of them was fun for different reasons.
Yeah, and how about, and credit to Paul for giving us this line on the way home, but it's like, how about the fact that Brad Cox is going to win 2 classic races basically in the same week? I mean, who knows when, frankly, we'll find out. His first one being the Belmont, his second one is the Kentucky Derby of the same year. So
thank you, Bob Baffert.
Yeah.
How that works,
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about that for a long time on how that exactly worked. And that's kind of a cool story for Brad Cox. But yeah, so Brett Cox all of a sudden won two legs of the Triple Crown this year after not winning any of them. So we'll be back to talk more of this and obviously what's coming up in the coming weeks and months. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a hell of a day. We're tired, if you can't tell. Essential Quality wins the Belmont Stakes. Thanks, everybody, and we'll be back next week. See you guys.